and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Are you struggling to sleep at night? Have you heard of Sleep Cream? Sleep Cream is a revolutionary new product made of all natural ingredients and with pure CBD. You simply rub it on sensitive skin areas right before bed. You will feel relaxed in a matter of minutes, and you will get the best sleep you've had in years. I know I have. You may have heard all kinds of mixed messages about CBD, but Sleep Cream only uses pharmaceutical-grade pure CBD crystals with 0 THC, and it's made right here in the USA. So if you want an all-natural way to sleep better, you must try Sleep Cream. Best of all, it's guaranteed to work or your money back. No questions asked. Just try it for yourself, and with its 100% money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose except more sleepless nights. Go to sleepcream.com. That's sleepcreme.com. And you can use code November24 at checkout to save $24 on your first order. If you're ready for the best sleep ever, go to sleepcream.com. That's sleepcreme.com. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View for a little ladies' tea. Tonight we are joined by the Daily Caller's Mary Rooke, as well as the Federalist's Brianna Lyman. Ladies, welcome. It's back to school time. My kids have been in school for like 2 weeks, but I know a lot of colleges are going back to school this week. It's post Labor Day. We got through the summer. We are on the home stretch. We are in the 60-ish day margin of time until this crazy election goes down. And I'm going to guess that we're going to continue to see a lot of chaos on college campuses. We've already seen that. These kids have been back in school, a lot of them for like one day. You still have a lot of Jewish students, Mary, who are saying, I haven't been given a plan for how I'm going to be protected on college campuses, on my college campus. We know kind of a lot of this anti-Semitism originated on Columbia's campus. They're officially back in school right now. And we're coming off of a weekend where we had 6 Israeli hostages shot, murdered multiple times at close range. According to the autopsy report, it looks like it was an execution. I haven't personally been satisfied, Mary, with the response that we have been given as a country by our current leadership. And I'm going to use leadership and put that in air quotes. And by that, I mean Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You had old Joe on the beach as usual. He was having a nice beach holiday. This guy has been on the biggest vacation of anyone's life. I don't even know anyone who is retired who does vacations like Joe Biden. He says that he's apparently issued a statement on Saturday evening saying he had worked tirelessly to secure the release of Hersh Goldberg Poland. Of course, that is the American who was among the 6 hostages who were murdered. What did you feel, Mary? What was your takeaway from Kamala Harris being seen with earbuds or like headphones and walking to the airplane the other day while we have a huge situation going on in the world? It's impacted an American citizen who is now dead. I can tell you this. Here's what I do know. I do know Donald J. Trump. And I know that not only would this entire situation have been avoided were he the president of the United States, but I can guarantee you that he would have come out a long time ago if there were 6 of these Israeli hostages killed and one of them was an American, with a full statement, with a press conference dealing with this entire situation. And he actually would have worked tirelessly to bring home the Americans who were being held hostage by a terrorist organization. But Mary, what'd you think of Kamala Harris running up on the plane with the earbuds? And what'd you think of Joe at the beach? What was your takeaway from all of this?
It's just a sad reality of where we sit as Americans, not just in our own country, but on a global stage. We're talking about an American killed in a foreign country after being held hostage for some 332 days. I agree with you. I do not think that Donald Trump would have allowed him to be in captivity for that long. I think that there would have been a plan in place to go and grab him almost immediately. This is something like Americans have been able to enjoy for the entirety of our country, that our leaders are going to go and grab us if there's, an unsafe or untenable situation that we've been put in a foreign country. And then to have Kamala Harris with her headphones in almost to say, I have no explanation for you. I've have no shining light or hope at the end of the tunnel. So I'm just going to ignore the situation and pretend to be on the phone. If you saw her walking up those steps, she not only had the earbuds in, but then later on, as she's getting closer to the front of the plane, she puts the phone to her head, almost as if to say the headphones weren't enough. So now I need to make it look really plausible, like I'm on the phone now. And then having Joe Biden tweet out and say, I've been working tirelessly to get Hirsch home. That's not even close to being the truth. He's been on the beach every day, relaxing in his pseudo retirement that he's been in since Kamala took place. I mean, really since before, but we've seen it on such a grand scale since Kamala was, nominated as the head of the Democratic Party now. And whenever you sit back and you look at this, how can you as a family with someone being held hostage over there, one of your family members, and feel peace? And as far as the kids on college campuses go, I think the reality is they need to understand that there is no plan in place. They are not safe. They have to make their own plan. They have to be able to bring safety into their own lives because our leadership is not coming to save them.
Well, it's not. And by the way, Mary, great point about the fact that Americans, we have enjoyed this. It's almost, I don't think people appreciate it enough, but we enjoy this feeling as Americans that you're right. No matter what, we have a country that will back us. Wherever we go in the world, we're a little bit safer because we know, God forbid the worst happens, you're going to have America come. I mean, in my mind, I see like the helicopters coming in. I see the Blackhawks. You know what I mean? Like, that's
absolutely. You see SEAL Team 6 knocking on the door, grabbing you and bringing you back home. Absolutely.
They're gone. Brianna, that day has long passed. It ended, I'm going to say January 20th of 2021 when Joe and Kamala took office. No one feels safe anymore. And you don't even feel safe in your own country anymore in a lot of places. Take a look at Aurora, Colorado, where they have an entire Venezuelan gang that has taken over an apartment complex. But to stay on this situation right now, you have a person in Kamala Harris, Brianna, who wants us to give her a shot at the big job. She's been second in command. Everything is a complete train wreck, not just in our country, but around the world. She wants the big job. She wants the promotion. She thinks this is her time. This is her moment. She's been told. And what she said in February, I guess Israel had indicated intent to enter Rafah. This is where the hostages were ultimately found, these hostages that were found murdered. They were like 20 meters below surface in some tunnel system that we know Hamas has. And she said Kamala Harris echoed the Biden administration's warnings and told Israel not to enter Rafah, saying that there could be many Palestinian civilians killed, and warning of possible consequences, hinting that the U.S. would potentially withhold weapons or funding or something for Israel if they entered Rafah. She said, Brianna, I've studied maps. This is a person who can't even, she forget a press conference about the hostage situation, about all of this. She hasn't done a press conference in now 45 days since she was coronated as the Democrats' nominee for president. And she wants us to give her that major job. Brianna, here's my question for you. How safe do you feel as an American citizen with the idea in mind that it could be Kamala Harris as a potential president of the United States? Does that sit well with you? Do you feel warm and fuzzy? Do you see the Blackhawks coming in to save you? God forbid the worst happens.
No, and I send my prayers to every American family right now that has a young son or daughter that wants to join the military, because I through knowing that their children could be at the behest of Kamala's will, because we know what happens when that occurs. You have 13 dead service members. And, we just spoke about the fact that Americans no longer have the, I guess I'll call it a luxury of knowing that our government will come rescue them. And I think those 13 service members were, the first time we really realize that when we were leader to die, that we left people in Afghanistan who had helped the United States for decades fight terrorists, and we just abandoned them. So there's a trend of abandonment here. On to the second point, Mary, I love the fact that you picked up that she held the phone to her head. What's really also important to remember is that this is a woman who is scared of the propaganda press. Those are her allies who are standing at the base of that plane. They're not going to throw a hardball at her. They were going to toss her a softball. And
Brianna, that's her team. Right. Yeah, they want her to win.
Yes. And she was still scared to even, give the semblance of, let me see if they have a question for me, and then pretend she's on the phone. She's terrified of them. And when it comes to what's going on right now with the hostages and Rafah, let's remember something with the regime. You can study all the maps in the world that you want, but when you have hit almost a year mark and we have American hostages being executed and American hostages being held, you no longer have that benefit of the doubt that you're actually doing the work. And what's really upsetting and just disheartening is that they have threatened military aid. They have tried to condition military aid to Israel, who is fighting a war that they did not start, they did not want. You want to make your blind eyes to our adversaries and to the world that Israel is ally. Palestinians are not our ally. If they want to target these terrorists and let them hide hostages in hospitals and in their homes, they will pay the price for doing that.
Listen, Brianna, you're right. This whole thing it's very frustrating, I think, to watch as an American. And the reason that I interpret Kamala Harris not wanting to go down and talk to her allies in the press post an American being executed and murdered by a terrorist regime across, the world, is that she is trying to thread a needle between appeasing the Palestinian and Hamas sympathizers, because that's what these lunatics are oftentimes on these college campuses, and trying to not lose the Jewish vote as well. This is about politics. This isn't about actually acting and positioning herself as someone who Americans could possibly see as a president of the United States. This is about making sure she doesn't lose the vote of one group of people and she doesn't lose the vote of the other group of people. She's trying to kind of have it both ways and play both sides. And she and Joe, by the way, have done this from the very beginning. We are almost at a year mark. We are a month shy of that. And their response has been really, really poor. They have tried to kind of appease both sides. And I don't think you can do that. I don't think it works. You're right. This was a war that Israel didn't ask for. They have found themselves in it. And now, rightfully so, they are defending themselves. They are, there's no way. I think you heard Netanyahu say this. There's no way after you murder the hostages that we're going to have peace talks. What are you, crazy? How on earth can they think that is a legitimate path forward? And so everyone seems to be avoiding this. Tim Walz the same way. He was at the Minnesota State Fair over the weekend, trying to be this bubbly, oh, I'm this cool guy, don't worry about me. You can vote for me. I'm not as radical as they say I am. And he got shouted a question about this and he just goes, okay, thanks, folks. We'll wrap it up here. No one wants to answer questions on this. No one has any real idea how to handle this because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz right now are trying to run for president and vice president, and they don't really care to deal with this situation. It doesn't matter whether or not you want to deal with it. This is the job of president of the United States. They're both MIA. They're both, no one knows where they are. And I'll remind Joe Biden, he's the current president. I think people, Mary, forget this. Joe Biden is the president of the United States. Yes, it's horrifying. Yeah, he's kind of like halfway there, out to lunch most of the time. He should still be acting as president, and I don't think anybody believes he is. He's like his departure from the DNC. They got him out on the first night. They sent him out to California for a week. He's been for the last week on the beach in Delaware, just relaxing while we have Americans being killed across the world. It's really awful to see. And then you, of course, had the anniversary of our 13 service members 3 years ago being killed over in Afghanistan with that botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, which of course was a result of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's poor decision making. You heard there was a lot of criticism against Donald Trump for going to Arlington National Cemetery and being there for this wreath-laying ceremony to commemorate the 3-year anniversary of probably one of the most horrible days for a lot of these families and their worst nightmares ultimately coming true. These Gold Star families came out, Mary, and they said, wait a minute, why are you criticizing Donald Trump? We asked him to be there. We wanted people to remember our sons, our daughters, our wives, our husbands, whatever. We wanted people to respond to this and remember them. You know, they died for this country and they died serving America. And they actually released a statement. They said today, Gold Star families who lost their loved ones in the Harris-Biden administration's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan released the following joint statement and a heartfelt video messages in a direct response to Kamala Harris's false, hypocritical, and disrespectful statement attacking President Trump. They say, we, the families of the brave service members who were tragically killed in the Abbey Gate bombing, are appalled by Vice President Kamala Harris's recent attempts to politicize President Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery. President Trump was invited by us, the Gold Star families, to attend the solemn ceremonies commemorating the 3-year anniversary of our children's deaths. He was there to honor their sacrifice, yet Vice President Harris has disgracefully twisted this sacred moment into a political ploy. They say also, Mary, that they invited Joe and Kamala. And Joe and Kamala didn't even respond. They didn't want to remind people, I guess, that this happened. We all know it happened. We all know that this, opened the pathway for Putin to invade Ukraine. We all know that this was the beginning of America looking weak. Obviously, 13 service members lost their lives. We left $81 billion worth of military equipment over there for the terrorists to get a hold of and utilize probably against Americans in the near future, if not already. Kristen Welker had Tom Cotton on on her show on NBC this past Sunday, and she falsely claimed that Kamala Harris had met with these Gold Star families during the dignified transfer when the bodies came back from overseas. So this whole thing, I think, is really irritating because Donald Trump just wants to be respectful of our service members. You didn't see any respect given by Kamala or Joe or Tim Walz. None of them had anything to say about it, not even a statement, nothing. And they're attacking Donald Trump for going and showing up, saying it was some sort of a photo op and a political opportunity. I love that the families said, wait a minute, don't get this twisted. We wanted him there. We asked him to be there. And he did this because he respects and loves our family member who was killed in the line of duty because of the failures of Kamala and Joe Biden. Where were they, though, Mary? Why do you think Joe and Kamala didn't even bother to show up, even though they were invited? Wouldn't it be amazing to support a skincare company that shares our values and celebrates faith, family, and freedom, and proudly stands behind conservative causes? I have found the perfect skincare brand, and it's called Nimi. Nimi offers simplified daily routines that cleanse, brighten, protect, and help fight the key signs of aging. You can literally just clear out your cabinet and replace all your miscellaneous products with an effective routine from Nimi. Nimi offers clean, effective skincare proudly made right here in the USA that stands strong against the woke, progressive beauty companies that back anti-American causes. Nimi has luxurious skincare for all skin types, offering cleansers, toners, moisturizers, serums, and more. I personally love Nimi's clean line as it offers high-end, clean skincare products that are free from fragrance and other chemicals that may disrupt your skin's natural microbiome. Build a custom bundle and save up to 20% off your routine. Plus, use code LARA, L-A-R-A, for an additional 5% off. That's NimiSkincare.com, N-I-M-I skincare.com, to elevate your routine with America's skincare company, or click the link in the bio to save big on your order and make sure you use promo code LARA today. You've asked and MyPillow listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill, and it adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25, the brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-624-3945 and use promo code Trump to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That is the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today and use promo code Trump.
The whole situation exposes their callousness and their lack of compassion for the sacrifices that these families have made. It was really shocking to see. It's one thing to be outflanked by your opponent, which is exactly what happened here because Donald Trump showed up when they didn't. And I think that that's what they're most mad about. They're upset because they should have been there. They should have answered the call, but it wasn't even a thought in their mind that they would do that. And if it hadn't been for Donald Trump showing up that day, would the entire nation be talking about the Abigail 13 who died or the countless number of service members who were injured that day? I mean, we're talking about American soldiers, American lives that are forever changed because of their callousness, their mistakes, what they did. And, I think that in a lot of things that Kamala Harris has done, it's exposed herself to the voters about her lack of compassion, whether it comes from the economy, whether it comes from our American citizens being held by Hamas or with the families of the Abigail 13. I mean, we're looking at that's the greatest sacrifice you can give to your country, whether it's your own life or the life of your family member in service of safety and service of peace. And this is a withdrawal that needed to happen. The American people were very much supportive of it, but the way that it went down was so disgraceful. And, you talked about the billions of dollars of equipment left through. I will never forget the videos that came out of Afghanistan shortly after, where they were riding the streets in our tanks, where they had our guns, they had our military equipment, and you're looking at that, you're going, of course, this shows weakness. And then, like you said, right after that, Russia decides to invade Ukraine. You have the formation of BRICS. You see that America has fallen on the global scale, and that's a scary prospect for an American citizen who has, for me, my whole life been able to afford to have the luxury of feeling safe in my own country. But like you said, we don't feel safe in our own country, and we don't feel safe abroad anymore. And that all comes back to that fateful moment in August when those service members died. It was the truest realization of the hell that would come the next 3.5 years.
I mentioned this earlier, Brianna, and Mary just brought it up. We don't feel safe at home anymore. And we know that there have been 13 million or more illegal immigrants to cross the border in the Kamala Biden administration. And it's because she was the border czar. And she never really had any intention of doing anything down there. We all know that. She now has these campaign videos up, though, Brianna, showing her, showing a wall in the background. And she even has the governor of Colorado who went on news programs over the weekend and said, wait a minute, she's always been in favor of some sort of a border barrier. I'm going to go ahead and remind him that Kamala Harris called Donald Trump's border wall whenever he was in office as president a medieval vanity project. Now, all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe, Brianna, Kamala Harris loves the idea of a wall. She's ready to sign into law if Congress votes on it, sign it into law, get some more money to build the wall. The fact that they are able to just flip-flop. And I mean, we saw this in her interview, right? The ridiculous CNN interview last week where she had her like safe space and her emotional support animal of Tim Walz there with her. She really has flip-flopped on so many things. No one seems to call her out on it, but how this guy can say that she's in favor now of a wall. We've got the videos with her for her ads now across the country with a video of a border wall in the background. Does anyone buy this? Are people actually going to watch these Kamala Harris ads and be like, oh yeah, well, you know what? If we want to secure the border, let's just make Kamala Harris the president. Then she'll get it done. Like, are these things actually working? Is this having an impact on people?
No, and I think Kamala's new, let me rephrase it. It's not a new stance on the border. She's just hiding her actual beliefs because she's trying to appear as that centrist and that moderate. But this is a tacit admission that the policies of the past 4 years haven't worked. Because if the policies had worked, she wouldn't feel the need to try and run cover and switch up her, policy initiatives and pretend she supports a border wall. And Americans are very aware of the fact that the border crisis has ballooned under the Harris administration. And Harris was tasked with being the border czar. So if she actually wanted a border wall, like she says, she could have gotten that done in the last 3.5 years. So here you have Donald Trump, who said he was going to do something. He did something. So we know that he has a track record of doing what he says. And then you have someone like Kamala Harris, who doesn't do anything, but says that if you give her the, she'll do something. So Americans have to choose between actions and words. And ideally, they're going to choose actions, especially when you're in a state like you mentioned, Colorado, that is being overrun by Venezuelan gangs, right? That affects Americans, directly and deeply. And when it comes to the border crisis, Democrats are going to keep trying to trot out the people who will say we had a bipartisan border bill. That border bill was not bipartisan. You had a few rhinos who joined in on a border bill that was widely condemned by the Border Patrol agents. Democrats and Republicans have been criticizing their border policies. I'm talking about Eric Adams and mayors of other Democratic cities who are being overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a huge problem everywhere. Everyone knows it's a problem, and there's one person to blame for this. I'm sorry, it's Kamala Harris, and you're right. I think Brianna, she's trying to run away from all of this, but it really is hard for me to see how you're going to sell this to people, and I think that people are smart enough to know who she is. And you actually look at polling recently, look at the fact that you have people like Don Lemon, who is certainly no fan of Donald Trump's and really probably doesn't want to talk about the fact that polls may be missing something or that there is a shift happening in the United States. He actually went on Jen Psaki's show on MSNBC and apparently really threw her for a loop because he was like, look, I think there is something that the polls are missing. There are a lot of Black men, especially, who do not ever intend to vote for Kamala Harris. And what is it, Mary, that they always harken back to as their reason for liking Donald Trump? It's the economy. It is the number one issue right now. When you talk to anyone in this country, it's the number one issue. Save for maybe the Jewish students who feel like their lives are threatened on college campuses or, elsewhere in the country, then their number one issue, obviously, we know is someone who is going to support Israel and get rid of all the anti-Semitism. Obviously, we understand that. But it all comes down to the basics. It's the kitchen table issues. Don Lemon broke this news to Jen Psaki. I don't think she loved it, but look back at Labor Day. Anybody have a cookout over Labor Day? Anybody go to the grocery store and buy stuff to feed your family or have friends over? There was a lot more expense this Labor Day, Mary. If you were trying to have a nice time, enjoy probably the last day off that a lot of people are going to have for a while. Propane, kerosene, and firewood up 16% since 2021. Ground beef up 26%. Hot dogs 25%. Chicken 27%. Lettuce, if you want, God forbid, we want a lettuce on our hot dog or hamburger rather, 24%. And 25% of independents say this is their number one issue. We know you don't win elections with the base. You got to turn your base out, but it's independents, the people in the middle, ultimately, Mary, who make that decision. You have to think about the fact that this is something that also people are dealing with on a daily basis. You look around the world and you see American hostages being killed. You look in our own country and you have, Venezuelan gangs overrunning just an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, probably an otherwise relatively sleepy, normal town. And I think that this is going to be the problem for Kamala Harris going forward. They're going to have to deal with the anti-Semitism on college campuses. We know they don't want people talking about that. School just started. It's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better. We have an open border still. There's nobody who's talking about doing anything about it. And then you have to couple that with the fact that you have inflation that's still a problem. They continue to say, and she said it in her interview with Tim Walz, well, we had to recover. Well, excuse me, Donald Trump, when he left office, gave you 1.6%, I think, inflation rate. It skyrocketed to 9% under you and Joe. It still is much higher and outpacing wage growth in this country, and people cannot afford it. So if you went out for Labor Day and you tried to have a nice cookout, I don't know. I don't know if you want to vote for Kamala Harris based on how much it costs you at the grocery store right now.
Right. The majority of people I talk to, especially mothers, talk about how expensive it was to do back to school shopping this year.
Yeah.
A lot of them told me that they did not buy new backpacks and lunchboxes this year. They didn't buy new uniforms. They just fixed and repaired whatever holes were in the uniforms from last year, cleaned and washed the backpacks, sent them back to school. They struggled to buy the school supplies for this year. The number one thing that people tell me that they can't afford is things that the healthiest things for you, like whole milk, butter, eggs, good proteins. Those are the things that people care about the most because it's something that hits them weekly. Every time they do their weekly family shop, it's like a slap in the face that reminds them about how bad the economy is. And I think that back to the Don Lemon part, I think that that is the thing that he also can't wrap his mind around. If you watch these man on the street videos that Don Lemon does, he'll be talking to people and he'll say, who are you voting for, Kamala or Trump? And then they'll say, Trump. Well, why? Because of the economy. Well, what do you mean? The economy is better under Biden than it ever was under Trump. And instead of sitting there and talking to the voter that is looking you in the face and saying, the economy is affecting me, it's affecting my business, it's affecting my ability to provide for my family, he tries to give him some spin from, the regime media that, no, the economy is better, look at these numbers. When people can feel the affordability in their life, and when they can't afford to put proper food on the table, when they can't afford to do sports because it's more expensive this year to buy all of the equipment for it, when they can't afford to live their daily lives, they look about who's in charge. Well, it's the Biden-Harris administration, and it's an A or B option. Could you do it under Trump? Yes. Could you not do it under Biden-Harris? No. And I think that that is the reason why we're seeing this momentous shift with Black men, because they want their purchasing power back. They want their ability to grow their communities back. We saw a real insurgence within the Black community over the last decade where they're kind of claiming their masculinity and claiming the head of their household back from the Democrats who destroyed it with all of these social programs. And it's a very serious issue for them. And I think for the Democrats to ignore something like that will only be to their detriment. And illegal immigration is very connected to this because illegal immigration affects the economy in a major way. We spent, I think I saw something like $150 million or something to that effect last year on illegal immigrants alone, just on social service programs. The American people are being bled dry right now. They cannot afford even a penny to go to illegal immigration unless it's to root it out and get it out of our country so that we can be prosperous again. Not to mention the crime, not to mention the devastation and the depression and the fentanyl and all of these other, compounding issues surrounding it. It's again, a lack of compassion that we have a Kamala Harris who in 2019, when she was running for president, boasted about the fact that when she was AG as California, that she told sheriffs and she's told state troopers not to listen to the ICE warrants, not to detain these people, not to send them over there, to then now come in 2024 and claim that she was the only AG of a border state trying to crack down on illegal immigration. It's a slap in the face to the American public. And I do think that there is a large swath of voters that are waking up to this reality.
It's all so phony, Brianna. It's so phony. Everybody is really kind of looking forward to, I know I am, a week from now or so, there's going to be a debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, or so people assume. People are constantly asking me, by the way, do you think the debate's going to happen? And I'm like, Donald Trump's going to be there. Look, he'll be on September 4th at the Fox News debate. And if Kamala decides to show up there, Brianna, he's happy to debate her then. He's happy to debate her at the ABC News debate on September 10th. He's happy to debate her. I think there's another one that they had scheduled as well if she would like to show up. People are really like, is she going to show up though? I mean, look, that CNN interview was a complete disaster for her. There's no doubt about it. And you can't, it really, I said this on TV the day after. It was almost as though she was running for junior class president and not president of the United States. Yeah. There was nothing substantive. There was no plan. There was no way she would do anything. She didn't explain herself or how she would get to any outcome. It was just, oh, I want to help the middle class. Great. So do a lot of people. What are you going to do to enact that? She has nothing to really say on this stuff. So I'm very curious how this debate is going to go on September 10th. But I really wonder deep down, is ABC going to call her out on this and actually make her talk about it? Or is that incumbent upon Donald Trump to do? Is he the one who's going to have to say, to Mary's point, look, when you were the AG of California, you talked about how you didn't want ICE to prosecute these people and get them out of the state of California. You wanted to help and abet these people who were here illegally. Now, all of a sudden, you're trying to be this hard-nosed, AG prosecutor who took these people out. No, it's all fake. It's all lies. How do you think this debate is going to go for her, Brianna? Because I got to tell you, if that CNN softball pre-recorded safe space interview is any indication, I don't know that it's going to go well for her. You didn't really see that move the needle. I probably didn't do anything for anyone who's kind of a wash, which maybe is the best she can hope for, that CNN interview. But this debate could make or break her because she's put all of her eggs in this basket at this point.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. We have gone from a country that is used to having 3 or 4 presidential debates to a country that's now saying, well, maybe we don't need any debates, right? Kamala doesn't actually need to present to the public. I would say this, and you just mentioned, will Donald of Kamala accountable if ABC moderators don't? That's exactly what ABC moderators and the left-wing corporate propaganda press want. They want to port Donald Trump to, for instance, focus entirely on Kamala's record rather than talk about his own, so that they can cast him as someone who is unfocused on his own record, can't provide a vision to the American public. And so what I'd caution, is that if you look at the RNC versus the DNC, the RNC was focused on a message of prosperity and a future for the country. You knew what was coming to you if you voted for a Republican. Compare and contrast that to the DNC, in which all they did was talk about Donald Trump. And I think Americans were kind of aware of the fact that there was a very different message coming from both. And so Donald Trump should recreate that, right? Donald Trump should focus most of his efforts on talking about his very successful record and his actual tangible plans forward. If he has the opportunity here or there, a 10-second, Kamala, you actually said X, Y, here, that doesn't happen. That's great. But the goal here for Democrats is to get Donald Trump to pretend to be a moderator so that they can say Donald Trump couldn't present a plan to the American public. He doesn't have a vision, and that's entirely untrue, but it's a trap they're hoping he's going to fall into.
Yeah, the other trap that I guess Kamala wanted him to fall into was to keep the mics on. She wanted there to be a lot of back and forth between, she said her goal was to kind of like goad him into attacking her. Excuse me, do you or don't you want to be president of the United States? Do you or don't you want to talk to the American people and take the opportunity to lay out your vision for America? How are you going to be as president? What are you going to do when you're in that office? Do you or don't you want this job? If your only goal is to goad Donald Trump into reacting to you, and that's the play, then I'm sorry, you do not have the qualification or the ability to be president. That to me was ridiculous. If that's how she wants to win the debate, by like really, prodding Donald Trump and getting him to react, are you kidding me? That is really sick. It actually really upsets me as an American that we are not afforded the opportunity to really see these candidates out front. Donald Trump has made himself available. Man, you can't make yourself much more available than this guy. Interview after interview, press conferences. He's, I guess, going to do a town hall if Kamala doesn't show up for the Fox News debate. He's agreed to all these things. He wants you to see more of him and for you to hear his ideas and his vision. Kamala, on the other hand, just wants to win by default by getting him disqualified. It's the whole thing is so upsetting and so crazy as an American. But here we are. And ladies, here's what I'll say, just to wrap it up today. This is going to be the beginning of what I anticipate to be about the craziest 60 days leading up to an election we've probably ever seen in the United States. So everybody get buckled up, get ready, get out and vote early, by the way. If you want to find out more about whether or not you're registered to vote, SwampTheVoteUSA.com is the website. You can go there. You can check your voter registration. Make sure you're registered. Make sure you know when early voting starts in your state. Make sure you know when you have to return the mail-in ballots, or make sure you know exactly where you need to be on election day and make a plan to get out and vote. Nothing is more important. We cannot have a person who wants to win a debate by default as president. We cannot have a person who hides because she's got, headphones in and, oh, I'm on a phone call. Crap, this is what I do to my kids. Are you kidding? We can't have it. We cannot have it, ladies. Mary and Brianna, I just want to say thank you both for being here for this great episode of The Right View. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we will see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.